They whisper of trees that bleed, of roots tangled around forgotten bones, where kings and outcasts alike are swallowed whole. Immersion, set up. Beneath the ancient canopy of the Black Forest, night is never empty. Branches twist like iron, mist clings like breath, and silence grows heavy with memory. You do not walk here. You are carried into something older. Listen, for tonight the forest remembers. Join the myth weaver, where forgotten stories breathe again. You stand at the edge of the Black Forest. It is no ordinary edge. The horizon seems to bend, swallowed by an ocean of trees. Their trunks rise, like cathedral columns, endless, patient, unmoved by centuries of men who believed themselves masters of kingdoms. The forest does not belong to them. It never did. And tonight, as the damp air closes around you, you feel how little mankind has ever mattered here. Breathe in the scent of moss and iron, of old rain resting in roots, of earth turned and returned by countless burials. Each breath tastes ancient. Each sound, the slow drip of water, the hush of branches, folds you deeper into a silence that is not silence at all, but listening. They called it Schwarzwald, the Black Forest, a place too vast to tame. Charlemagne's hunters rode in with their horns and hounds, yet lost themselves in days without sun. Medieval lords claimed it on maps, yet their banners rotted long before they reached the heart. Even now in your stillness you sense it. The land does not yield to crowns. Crowns yield to it. There are stories of travelers who vanished. Not once or twice, but endlessly, as if the woods were a mouth that hungered. Merchants, carrying salt and iron. Pilgrims, following faint paths to shrines. Soldiers, broken from battle, searching for escape. Their names dissolved. Their belongings found later among the roots, twisted as though grown there. The locals whispered why. Some said the forest was cursed, home to giants or fae that lured men from the road with lights. Others believed ancient gods, long forgotten, had fled into these groves when churches rose across Europe. Banished from altars, they clung to the roots, demanding tribute in secret fires. And still others told of kings, not the crowned and celebrated, but the dethroned, the betrayed, the unburied. Those whose deaths carried shame, whose bodies could not lie in consecrated ground. They say such kings were carried here, dragged under moonlight, away from watchful eyes, laid in pits among twisting roots. Listen, can you hear the rustle? It is not only the wind, somewhere deeper, unseen fires once burned. You can almost picture it. Men gathering in small clearings, lighting branches with trembling hands, whispering words in Latin or in older tongues. Rituals meant not to honor, but to bind, to bury not just the body, but the memory itself. Imagine them, priests, soldiers, betrayers, lowering a silent figure wrapped in linen. No crown upon his brow, yet the forest knows. Roots taste his bones, moss drinks from his skin. The earth itself remembers him as king, even if his people are forbidden to speak his name. And over time, these whispers wove together. Travelers claimed to see pale figures wandering at dusk, crowned not with gold but with antlers, or with circlets of ivy and thorn. They said the kings were not truly dead, only dreaming beneath the roots. Waiting, you walk deeper now. The air grows colder, thicker, as though heavy with breath long exhaled. Your footsteps are muffled in soft earth, where centuries of leaves have fallen, decayed, and returned. It is here, in this endless cycle of death and renewal, that the forest makes its crowns, not of jewels, but of silence. A silence heavy enough to reign. Close your eyes. Can you feel it? The pressure of soil, the slow creep of roots, a crown settling, unseen, upon your head. It does not shine, it does not weigh, but it binds. Medieval chronicles mention these woods with caution. Some abbots wrote of unclean spirits that dwelt here, spirits who pretended to be kings to deceive the faithful. Others wrote of strange mounds, unmarked, that the peasants feared to disturb. No tools touched them, no prayers blessed them. Yet when storms came, lightning always struck near, as if the earth remembered where power had been buried. Still, who can say? Was it only fear, only legend? Or is it possible that forgotten rulers truly sleep beneath these trees, remembered not by men, but by the roots that clutch their bones? You pause by a clearing. It is circular, unnaturally so, as though carved. The moss here is thicker, luminous with dew. You notice the char of ancient fires blackened into stones. The silence is deeper here, like a held breath. You realize others once stood exactly where you stand, whispering over something that should never have been named. Perhaps they buried their king here. Perhaps they tried to forget. But the forest never forgets. You wonder, if you leaned close enough, ear pressed against the ground, would you hear it? The faint beat of a heart that should be dust, the shift of a crown made not of gold, but of roots entwined with skull. The legends say that to disturb such a place is to awaken a reign that ended unjustly. And a king who was denied his throne in life may take it in death, not by sitting among men, but by ruling the silence, by commanding the fear that keeps even the bravest from walking these woods alone. You feel it, don't you? The forest does not push you away. It draws you in, slow, patient, as though weighing you, as though asking, will you too be crowned? In silence, beneath your feet, the soil is damp, rich with centuries of decay. Roots curl like fingers. The crown of silent kings is not worn by choice. It is given when the forest decides your voice must fade. Some say knights who tried to cut these trees were cursed, their horses stumbling, their swords rusting in hand. Some say queens who sent men to claim wood for their halls fell ill before the timber could arrive. And others whisper that when you pass through at night, you see faces in the bark. Crowns above them, carved not by tools, but by time. The forest does not yield its secrets. It only offers silence and watches what you do with it. And so you keep walking, breath slow, footsteps hushed, heart carried into the shadows. The trees seem endless. The air feels older, and the roots curl closer, listening, always waiting. Somewhere a crown lies buried in the dark earth, unseen by all but the roots that cradle it. Somewhere, a king who never finished his reign still waits, eyes closed beneath the moss. And as you drift deeper into the hush of the forest, you wonder if his silence is not sleep, but listening, listening for the next voice that will be taken. The story does not end. It only fades into the shadows where another begins. You follow the moonlight into the trees. It is silver, cold, sharp as a blade, yet trembling upon every leaf. The forest is never darker than when the moon is full. Every shadow stretches long and thin, as if the trees themselves lean closer to listen. And tonight, they listen. Far off, a howl breaks the silence. Not a dog, not a cry of livestock lost, but a voice deeper, more ancient, that chills the bone. The wolves are hunting. And in these woods, hunting is never only theirs to do. You step carefully over roots, the ground softened with pine needles, damp with last night's rain. Smoke drifts, faint, somewhere between earth and sky. A strange smoke, bitter, herbal, not of hearth or camp, but of ritual. Your tongue tastes its sharpness before your eyes find its source. There by the bend of a stream she waits, a woman, cloaked not in finery, but in shadows stitched by her own hands. A circle before her, drawn in ash and bone. Candles gutter though no wind touches them. The scent thickens, sage, mugwort, wolfsbane. Burning herbs meant to blur the line between beast and man. They called such women witches, in whispered accusations, in fearful prayers. But to the wolves, she is sister, she is mother, she is the one who calls. Listen, her voice is low, almost carried on the smoke. Not Latin, not the prayers of the church. Older words, tangled in roots of language, half growl, half song. The kind of words that make your skin prickle, though you do not understand them. And then, the answer. Another howl, closer this time, sharper. The crack of underbrush, the rustle of fur brushing branches. You are not alone. Amber eyes glimmer. At the edge of her circle, one pair, then another, then many. They gather, silent, watchful, not lunging. Not tearing, waiting. The witch does not flinch. Her hand rises, palm out, smoke curling from her fingers. She whispers again, and the wolves bow their heads, as if the pact is real, as if the bloodline between woman and wolf is thinner than men ever dared to believe. In medieval Europe, tales of such women spread like fire. Villages whispered of shepherdesses who vanished on full moons, returning with eyes too bright. Of mothers who birthed children with teeth already sharp, whose cries echoed like distant howls. The church declared them damned, servants of the devil. But the woods told another story, one of kinship, of packs, of survival. For the wolves were hunted, just as the women were. Hunted by men who feared what they could not tame, and so wolf and witch found one another. One offered sharp teeth, the other cunning fire. Together, they endured. You can almost see it, can't you? The torchlight of hunters moving through. The trees, their voices hushed, their spears ready. And in the shadows beyond, wolves circling. Eyes glimmering, silent as breath. The hunters never see the woman in the smoke, only the pack that strikes. They tell stories later, of beasts too many to count, of eyes glowing like stars. But none speak of the hand that guided them. The witch kneels now, her fingers tracing the soil, marking it with patterns lost to time. Her voice falters, then grows stronger. She does not command, she bargains. A promise of blood, a promise of protection, half kept, half broken, like all promises between those who live by hunger. One wolf steps forward, larger than the rest, its fur streaked silver. In the moonlight, it lowers its head, almost bowing. Her hand hovers above its crown, trembling, then rests. Smoke swirls around them both, twining, binding. You wonder, is it prayer or surrender? The pact is old. Older than churches, older than kings. Some say women like her were not witches at all, but priestesses of forgotten gods. That once, wolves were not feared, but revered. Guides to the underworld, guardians of thresholds. In Norse sagas, wolves swallowed the sun and moon. In Roman tales, a wolf mother raised kings. Perhaps here, in the endless forests of Europe. Those stories were never myths, but memory. But every pact carries its wound. Not every wolf obeyed. Not every woman survived her calling. Hunters dragged some to pyres, bound in chains of iron. They burned, and the smoke carried their words skyward, unfinished. And when wolves howled on those nights, villagers swore it was not grief, but vengeance. Even now, the circle before you flickers. The wolves linger at its edge, restless, ears twitching. The witch's voice softens, then falters. You sense hesitation, a bargain not fully sealed, a promise spoken too carefully. The pack stirs. They shift, uncertain, caught between trust and hunger. And here lies the danger. A pact half kept can never hold. The wolves lean closer, teeth glinting. The woman steadies, her breath though her hands tremble. One word wrong, and the circle shatters. You listen, heart slowed, as if caught in the same balance. The forest leans, holding its breath. The moon watches, pale and cold. Perhaps the pact will hold tonight. Perhaps it will not. No one will ever. Tell you which, for no one who stands this close to the wolves speaks of it after. The silence itself becomes the crown, the seal, the warning. And so you step back, into shadow, unseen. The smoke drifts higher, the howls echo once more, and the forest folds around the circle as if it were never there. Only the scent remains, bitter, herbal, lingering, the smell of bargains that never end. You drift through the trees, the howls fading behind you. The pact remains, fragile, unfinished, balanced on breath. Somewhere in the night, wolves and witches still share their silence. Somewhere the smoke still curls, rising toward a sky that keeps its secrets, and the forest waits for the next story to take root in its shadows. The night is long, the longest of the year. The sun slips early into shadow, and the earth itself seems to exhale frost. You walk through fields frozen stiff, past cottages sealed against the cold, until you see it. A hall lit from within, its roof sagging with snow, its timbers blackened with centuries of smoke. You step inside. Warmth strikes your face. Fires roar in the stone hearths, spitting sparks into the air. Pine logs crackle, filling the hall with a resinous scent, sharp and sweet. The smell mingles with roasted fat dripping onto coals, and the tang of ale heavy in the air. It is the night of the solstice, the night when light is weakest, the night when the dead draw closest. Long tables stretch before you, thick oak scarred with age. Upon them, platters grown with meat, pork glistening, venison dark, fowl skewered and dripping, loaves of bread hard as stone, softened with butter, cabbage boiled, root vegetables roasted, salted fish carried from far rivers. The people gather in their furs and wool, faces red from drink, eyes bright from fire. Yet you notice something else. Empty chairs. Not few, but many, set as carefully as the rest. Bowls filled, cups poured. No one dares to sit in them. These are the chairs of the unseen guests. For on this night, the boundary thins. The line between hearth and grave blurs. The living eat, but they eat beside the dead. You listen as an elder murmurs a prayer. Not to Christ alone, though his name is spoken. Older names rise too, hidden beneath the chant. Shadows of gods once worshipped in these forests, spirits of land and ancestor, bound not to churches, but to soil. The people bow their heads, not out of obedience, but out of caution. The unseen are listening. In some villages, they called it Jul. In others, Modronite, the mother's night. The Romans, when they came, called it Saturnalia. And across Europe, though names shifted, the rhythm remained the same. The solstice was never only feast. It was a bargain. Smoke curls above the fire. The rafters are black with it. Some say the smoke itself carries the offerings upward, to the gods, to the spirits, to the watchers who cannot be seen. Meat is thrown into the flames, bread broken and scattered. Ale poured onto the floorboards until it soaks the rushes. The people eat loudly, drink heavily, laugh too brightly, and then they fall silent, as though listening. The crackle of fat in the fire is louder than their words. A draught moves through the hall, though the doors are sealed. A candle gutters. One of the empty chairs creaks. You feel it, don't you? The presence. Something sits where no body should be. A shadow among firelight, unseen, yet palpable. The offerings are taken. Not by hand, not by mouth, but they vanish nonetheless. In tales told later, villagers swore they saw the shapes of ancestors at the edge of vision. Grandfathers long dead, mothers taken by winter, children who never grew. They came for the feast, not to harm, but to be remembered. Yet the line between blessing and curse was thin. If no chair was laid, no bowl filled, the spirits grew restless. And when the restless dead leave the table hungry, they do not leave alone. Your gaze drifts to the hall's shadows. They stretch long, too long. Some seem to move against the fire's rhythm. The people notice, but they do not speak. They lift their cups instead, toasting the unseen, drinking deeply, hoping to keep the silence fed. Fat drips, smoke rises, bones crack in the fire. The air grows thicker, heavier, as though crowded. The warmth is no longer comfort, but weight, and beneath it all, the sense that the forest outside watches still, that the dark beyond the walls leans closer with every passing moment. The feast is not only for the ancestors. In the woods, darker things stir. Old gods, cast aside, hunters without form. The wild hunt rides on nights like these, some say, sweeping through villages, carrying souls with them. Perhaps the feast is also a shield, a way of binding the hearthlight, so the hunt passes by. No one knows, no one asks. They eat, they drink, they leave the chairs untouched. You imagine what it would feel like to sit in one of those empty places, the chill that would seize you, the whispers that would curl at your ear, the weight of eyes that are not eyes pressing into your skin. And you understand why no one dares. The night lengthens. Songs rise, slow and heavy, sung in old tongues. Children drift asleep by the hearth. The elders keep watch. The feast continues. Not out of hunger, but out of fear of stopping too soon. And when the fire burns low, when the last cup is emptied, the people step back. They leave the bowls on the table, untouched. They do not clear them. They do not speak. They open the doors, and the night pours in. Wind, cold and sharp, sweeps through the hall. The candles flicker once, twice, then steady. The guests have gone. But who ate? Who sat? Who listened? No one knows. No one asks. The people drift back into the dark, each carrying a silence of their own. The forest looms, ancient, patient, its roots tangled with memory. And somewhere in its shadows, something smiles. The hall fades behind you, smoke curling, into the frozen night. The feast lingers in the air. Fat, ale, pine, and silence. Chairs still sit empty, waiting for those who cannot be seen. And as the forest sighs, you wonder, when the dead are fed, do they leave satisfied or hungrier? Still, the question drifts with you into the shadows where another story waits. Dawn rises slow, pale, muted. The sky is neither gold nor blue, but a thin wash of gray. Mist hangs low, curling like breath across the water. You stand at the edge of a lake that has no name, though villagers whisper one when forced to speak of it. They do not write it down. They do not mark it on their maps. To mark it is to invite it. The water lies still, too still. Not the restless shifting of rivers, not the chatter of brooks, not even the sigh of a healthy lake. It is flat, dark, heavy, like glass laid over a sleeping eye. And yet, as you watch, ripples move across its skin, slow, wide, red. Not the bright red of flowers, not the glowing red of embers, but the deep, thick red of something older. Blood diluted with water, flesh dissolved into current. No wound above, yet always seeping, always staining. The fishermen who lived nearby told their stories quietly, often at night, often after drink loosened their tongues. They spoke of mornings when nets came up empty, then mornings when nets came up heavier than before. At first they thought it fortune, perhaps a haul too great to lift. But when the ropes surfaced, what dangled from them was not fish, not silver-scaled life, but bone. Ribs snapped through the twine, skulls hollowed, hands clutching nothing. Nets shredded by what they caught, and always the water rippled red. They say no one could remember when it began. The elders told of fathers who fished there. Those fathers told of grandfathers before them, and always the same warning. Cast your net, but do not pull it too deep, for below the stillness lies something that eats more than fish. You step closer to the shore. Mud clings to your boots, thick and black. The reeds grow tall here, yet their tips are brown, brittle, dying, as though the water feeds them nothing, but silence. The air smells faintly of iron, sharp, metallic, clinging to your tongue as though you had bitten your lip. Look carefully. Do you see it? At the lake's heart, where the mist parts for a moment, the water is darker, almost black. Some villagers swore they saw shapes moving there, vast, slow, not fish, not bird, not beast they knew. Others claimed the shapes were Coffins, drifting, always returning to the same place no matter how the wind blew. There is a story. A village once stood on this very shore, long ago. Wooden homes, smoke rising from hearths, bells calling across the valley. But one winter, hunger came. The snows fell too deep, the fields withered, the cattle wasted away. In desperation, the villagers cast their dead into the lake, not as sacrifice, not as ritual, but as necessity. The ground was frozen, the shovels broke on ice, so they gave the dead to water. And water remembered. Year after year, the red ripples grew stronger. Fishermen swore they caught the bones of their own kin. A sister's hand, a father's skull, a child's ribs tangled in rope. The more they cast, the more the lake returned what was given, until finally, the village itself disappeared. Some say famine drove them away. Others whisper they were pulled into the lake, house by house, fire by fire, and now only the water waits. You crouch low, touching its surface. It is colder than it should be. Not the cold of winter, but the cold of a cellar, a grave, a place, where the sun has never reached. Ripples spread from your fingers. When they settle, you think you see a reflection, not your own, but another face beside it, pale, hollow-eyed, watching. There are other legends. Of Roman soldiers who drowned here, armor dragging them down as they marched across hidden marshes. Of witches who cursed the water, staining it forever with the blood of their persecutors. Of battles forgotten, their bodies never buried, their memory dissolved into the lake. Each tale is half believed, half feared, but all agree, whatever was given, whatever was lost, the water never lets go. The mist thickens. A crow circles above, its cry sharp against the silence. No other birds fly here. No deer come to drink. The forest itself leans back from the water's edge, as if it too refuses to draw too close. Imagine the fishermen once more, their hands raw, their nets coarse, their breath steaming in dawn air. They cast with hope, they draw with dread. One morning, a boy pulls his net and screams. The others rush to him. What he has caught is not a fish, but a skull crowned with weeds, jaw open as if mid-cry. The elders burn the net. They burn his boat. And yet the next day, the boy walks back to the shore, as though called. He is never seen again. So the lake waits, unmarked, unnamed, yet remembered in silence. A stain in the forest's map. A wound in the land that does not close. The mist curls tighter. Your breath quickens, though the air is still. The water is motionless now, no ripple, no sound, as though it holds itself, waiting. You cannot help but wonder. If you stepped further, if you leaned too far, what hands might rise from below? What faces might break the surface, pale and dripping, reaching for your silence? But you do not step closer. You cannot. The weight of the unseen keeps you still. And as the dawn light struggles through the fog, you understand why no map dares. Mark it. Maps are for places that belong to men. This lake belongs to something else. Something that waits. Always waits. The mist thickens once more, curling low over the blood-dark water. The forest leans away, yet its silence bends toward the lake, listening. You turn from the shore, though you know its gaze will follow. And, as you drift into the trees, one thought clings like the scent of iron. What rises from the lake is never caught, only returned, and so the story sinks, unfinished, into the waters. Night settles heavy, but the silence does not last. From somewhere in the dark, a horn splits the air. Not the call of shepherd or knight, but a sound deeper, hollow, echoing as though blown through the ribs of a corpse. The hair on your arms rises. The forest stiffens, every creature hides, and then you hear them. Hooves, pounding, not on soil but on air itself. Thunder without storm, a hunt that does not wait for weather. They call it the wild hunt, the furious host, the army of the dead, chasing prey that never yields. It rides in Germany, in Scandinavia, in the Isles and the mountains. Every land gives it a name. But all know its fear. You walk deeper into the night. The chill is sharper now, a cold that seems to strike from within, as though bones themselves are freezing. Branches rattle though no wind moves them. Your breath quickens, turning. White torn away before it fades. The horn sounds again, closer, and the hooves follow. Listen. The hunt is never seen at once. It is felt first. The air thickens, heavy with dread. Dogs bark, distant, though no dog is near. Their growls scrape at the edge of your hearing, sharper than any wolf. Eyes gleam in the dark. Not beasts, not men. Something caught between, and then, through the trees, you glimpse them. Riders. Dozens, scores. Men once, perhaps, but not now. Their flesh rots, their armor rusts, yet their forms do not falter. Hollow eyes burn with embers. Their mouths are twisted in laughter or in screams that never end. They ride steeds as broken as themselves, rib cages jutting, hooves aflame, manes, trailing sparks like torn banners of fire. The curse binds them. No rest, no grave, no silence. Only pursuit. But what do they chase? No one agrees. Some say they hunt the souls of the living, dragging them into the host. Others say they chase a stag that is not stag, a beast born of the world's first shadow, never to be caught. And others whisper they do not hunt at all, but flee, pursued themselves by a god they betrayed, cursed to run forever. The horn sounds again, closer, louder. You feel it in your chest, vibrating through bone. The ground trembles. The hunt is nearly here. Legends warned of this. If you hear the hunt, do not look. If you see the hunt, do not follow. If the hunt sees you, run, though it will not matter. Some peasants threw themselves into ditches, into rivers, into mud, hoping to be mistaken for corpses and left behind. Some knelt, prayed, begged the Virgin or Odin, depending on which faith clung to them. Few survived. You cannot help but look. The riders blaze past, spectral yet heavy, their passage bending branches through they touch no earth. Their dogs snap at shadows, their eyes wild, their bodies steaming as though alive and dead both. You hear the rattling of chains, the clash of rusted steel, the endless laughter of those who forgot why they laugh. One rider turns. His face is hollow, yet his ember eyes lock on yours. And for a breath, the hunt wavers. Is it invitation? Is it warning? Or is it the curse itself, seeking another soul to bind? You step back. Branches crack beneath your feet. The sound is enough. The dogs turn their heads. The riders veer. The hunt shifts its path, curling toward you. The stories warned of this. Those who draw the hunt's gaze are never the same. Some vanish that very night, their houses found empty, their beds unrumpled. Others live on, but hollow-eyed, voices broken, forever listening for horns no one else hears. And some are said to join the hunt, their faces later glimpsed among the riders, burning eyes where once there was life. The hooves draw closer. The horn shakes the night. Your breath stutters, your body trembles, yet you cannot move. The hunt does not ride on roads. It rides through you, but then, like smoke, it veers again. The riders sweep past, into the dark, into the mist, into silence. The forest exhales. The air warms by a breath. The horn fades, but the echo lingers, always the echo, and you understand, the hunt never ends. It may pass tonight, it may return tomorrow. It may follow you in dreams, in silence, in sudden winds that chill the bone. Once heard, never forgotten. The curse is endless, the chase eternal, the prey unseen. The riders forever bound, And perhaps one day, when your eyes no longer close in, sleep when your breath leaves you cold, when your voice breaks into silence, you too will hear the horn. Not as warning, not as curse, but as summons. And you will ride, eyes burning, laughter hollow, hooves pounding against the sky, forever. The forest grows still once more, but the silence feels thinner now. Every shadow trembles like a hoofbeat, waiting to return. Every gust of wind might be the breath of hounds on your trail. And in the far dark, the horn waits, not ending, not fading, only pausing between hunts. The story rides on, restless, into the next night. Beneath the black forest, you descend, not along any marked path, not through mine nor tunnel, but through openings that seem to breathe themselves into being, hollows in the soil, soft with moss, leading downward where no lantern burns. The earth grows damp. You smell rot, sweet and clinging, like fruit left too long in a cellar. You touch the walls, and they are not stone, not soil, but something else. Woven strands of living root, thick as rope, braided tighter than human hands could manage. A cathedral, not built, but grown. The silence here is vast. No bird, no wind. Only the slow drip of resin, thick and golden, oozing from the roots like the forest's own blood. It gathers in small pools on the floor, hardened into amber that glows faintly, as if holding the memory of forgotten suns. You are not alone. You feel it before you see it. Knees on earth, heads bowed low, figures cloaked in bark-brown robes. They kneel before the roots, palms pressed into the damp soil, lips moving without sound. The air is thick with incense, burning herbs, mosses, perhaps even shavings of the roots themselves. The smoke curls upward, vanishing into the lattice of the living ceiling, priests of the underground. No one remembers when they first appeared. Were they cast out monks, or keepers of older faiths before the church's bells rang? No one knows, but whispers cling to them, that they prayed not to God, nor saint, nor angel. They prayed to what pulsed in the roots, something unnamed, something listening. You move closer. Their chants come clearer now, low and rhythmic, not words, but syllables, drawn out, stretched, repeating. The sound reverberates through the chamber like a hum, a heartbeat, and the roots seem to stir with it, trembling faintly, as if they breathe in rhythm with the voices. What do they ask? What do they believe answers? Some tales say they worshipped the forest itself, its vast network of roots as the veins of a sleeping god. Others whispered the roots were tendrils of something buried far deeper, not tree, not plant, but a beast, older than men, older than forests, and still others believed the roots themselves were not alive, but conduits, threads connecting this world to another. The resin drips again. It lands on your hand, sticky, warm, almost alive. It clings to your skin like honey, but when you try to wipe it away, it resists, seeping into the pores, leaving behind a faint tingle. The priests bow lower, faces nearly touching soil, and their voices rise. In the dark, a memory surfaces. Medieval chronicles speak of strange sects, worshippers who gathered in caves, far from cathedrals, who lit no candles but burned roots until the smoke made them tremble and convulse. One account tells of peasants who found such a gathering, priests bent double, mouths full of soil, whispering into the ground as though waiting for a reply. And when disturbed, the roots themselves shifted, as if recoiling, or as if caught. Mid-breath. You feel the same presence here, as though every root is aware of you, as though your heartbeat is no longer yours alone. The chants stop. The silence is sharper now, like a blade. The priests do not rise, but you feel their attention turn. Not their eyes. You cannot see their faces beneath the cowls. But something deeper, an awareness, pressing against you, heavy as soil. The resin, Pool glows brighter, pulsing faintly, like a second sun buried deep below. The roots around it quiver. One thick tendril lowers, almost like a hand, dripping with sap. It touches the pool, and the amber ripples outward in slow circles. The priests breathe in unison, and you hear it, not words, not voice, but something, a sound like stone grinding, a rhythm like soil shifting, a presence, deep, vast, unfathomable. It does not speak, it does not need to. The roots carry its weight, and the priests tremble. What is it? No one dares name it. Names give shape, and shape binds. Here, there is only listening. The priests bow lower still. One presses his forehead to the resin pool, his skin sticking to the golden surface. He does not lift his head. You see the resin spread, climbing up his cheek like a second skin, sinking into him. He shudders, then stills. The roots around him twitch, as though satisfied. The others continue to pray. Their voices rise, soft, fervent, endless. You feel it pulling at you, not your body but your breath, your thought. A desire to kneel, to press your hands into the soil, to let the roots wind their way through your veins, until your own heartbeat belongs to the cathedral below. You step back. The chamber tightens, the air thicker. The resin pools glow brighter, the incense stronger. Your chest aches, your head sways. And still, the roots listen. Perhaps they always have. Perhaps every step in the forest above is heard here. Every prayer, every curse, every whisper. Carried downward, fed into soil, drawn into these cathedrals where faceless priests echo them back. You cannot stay. Your breath is too heavy, your heart too fast. The priests do not stop you. They bow lower, lost in prayer. Or perhaps they do not see you at all. Perhaps they never did. As you climb upward, away from resin and root, the forest floor feels thinner, fragile, as though one misstep might crack it open. The trees overhead sway gently, yet you feel them watching too, their roots tugging at what lies below. You wonder, when you return to the surface, will you still be your own? Or will some echo of you remain, kneeling in the cathedral of roots, whispering into soil, waiting for an answer that has no name? The forest floor feels hollow now, every step an echo of something deeper. Every root, a thread pulling you back toward the dark. And as night gathers, you almost hear it again. Not horn, not wind, but a low hum, patient, endless, waiting. The story does not end here. It only deepens beneath soil and silence. The forest parts in a hush. Branches thin, roots retreat, and there it is. A clearing so still, so tightly bound by shadow, that even the wind forgets to pass through. At the center rests a shape not meant for earth. A coffin, not wood, not stone, but glass. It gleams faintly, though no sun falls here. The trees arch high, a living cathedral, their leaves closing like shutters. Yet the coffin glows softly, as though lit from within, a lantern of frost in a world of green. You draw nearer. Inside lies a figure, pale, untouched by time. Skin smooth, lips faintly red, hair coiled like threads of gold and ash. The body does not breathe, but neither does it decay. Centuries might have passed, yet it remains, waiting. Legends cling to this place. Some call her a saint, laid to rest by villagers who could not bear to see her buried beneath soil. Others say she was no saint but a witch, preserved by her own forbidden arts, her beauty sealed away in glass, so it would never rot. And some whisper she was royal, an exiled queen, or perhaps the daughter of a king, cursed never to wake. Each tale contradicts the other, yet all agree on one thing. The coffin has always been here. No one remembers its arrival. No one recalls its making. It simply waits. The air is heavy with offerings. At the foot of the coffin, blood stains the moss. Small bowls hold clumps of bread, fruit, scraps of meat, left by hands that trembled but did not dare to keep them. Coins, too, scattered in the dirt, their edges dulled by rain, offerings to buy mercy. The scent is faint, iron, yeast, mold, woven into the earth itself. Pilgrims came here. They knelt in silence. They pressed their foreheads to the glass, though the cold burned them. Some whispered prayers. Others left their words unspoken, afraid she might hear. For the stories warned, if her eyes opened, if her lips moved, the forest itself would stir. Children were told of her in lullabies. Do not wander too far, or the lady in glass will take you. Lovers swore oaths before her, vowing to love as eternally as she slept. Famine drove villagers to beg her for food, war to beg her for peace, sickness to beg her for healing. Sometimes the prayers were answered. A field yielded more wheat than expected. A fever broke in the night. A battle ended before it began. And yet, each gift came with a price. Always unseen, always delayed, but always taken. You step closer, your reflection joining hers in the glass. Her eyes remain closed, yet you feel them. A weight beneath the lids, pressing outward, as though sleep is a mask she might shed at any moment. Her chest does not rise, but you sense a rhythm, slow, patient, like the heartbeat of the forest itself. There is a story of a woodsman who tried to break the coffin. His axe struck once, twice, and on the third swing the glass sang, not cracked. The note rang through the forest for days, echoing in wells, in caves, in the ringing of church bells. The woodsman disappeared soon after. Some said he was dragged into the coffin itself, his body taking her place while she walked free. Others whispered he became the first tree at the clearing's edge, bark peeling like skin, eyes closed forever. And another story tells of a pilgrim who swore he saw her lips move, not words, not breath, but the faintest curl of a smile. He claimed she whispered his name, though he had never given it. By dawn, he was gone, leaving only his cloak and a bowl of blood at the foot of the coffin. You linger, watching. The silence hums. The glass does not fog, does not frost, though your breath clouds before it. Inside, her pale hands rest gently over her chest, fingers delicate, almost fragile. Yet beneath the glass they seem strong, as if they could shatter it from within with ease. Why a coffin of glass? Why not stone? Why not earth? Perhaps because earth cannot contain her. Perhaps because the coffin is not prison, but window. For who is it meant to show? The villagers who come to pray? The wanderers who stumble here? Or something deeper, watching through from the other side? Night falls, though the clearing does not darken. The coffin glows still, faint, steady, endless. And for a moment, you are certain her chest rises. A single breath. Drawn. Released. The forest leans closer. The branches bow. The moss thickens around your feet. The roots curl, listening. Waiting. Do her eyes stir? You cannot tell. The lids tremble, perhaps. Or perhaps it is only your own breath, clouding the glass. But the feeling does not fade. You know she is aware. The coffin is not tomb, but threshold. And when the glass breaks, whether by axe or by will or by the slow wearing of centuries, she will rise, and the forest will not resist her. It will carry her on its roots, on its branches, on its shadows, and the pilgrims will kneel again. Not to a coffin, but to her. The glass gleams quietly, neither broken nor whole. Her eyes remain closed, yet your breath waits for them to open. The offerings rot, the moss swallows them, the silence deepens. And somewhere in the hush, a heartbeat lingers, not yours, not hers, but the forest's own. The story waits, and the roots whisper onward. The forest has seen kingdoms fall. It has swallowed armies, heard the clash of steel, tasted the smoke of burning villages. Wars passed like storms, but the trees endured, their roots drinking from both blood and rain. You stand at the edge now. The sky is black with crows. Their wings carve restless circles, their cries sharp, grating, endless. Beneath them, smoke coils from the ground, curling through broken branches, through fields turned to ash. The air smells of iron and decay. Charred soil crunches under your feet, once soft, now brittle with ruin. Somewhere beneath this ruin lies a crown, not upon a head, not upon a throne, but buried deep in earth. The roots have found it. They twist around it, curling like fingers, wrapping it into the soil's dark embrace. The crown is not rust, not gold, but something in between. It's metal dulled, yet humming faintly with memory. Legends cling to it. They say it belonged to the last king of these lands, a ruler who vanished when the fires came. Some claim he fell in battle, swallowed by the forest before his enemies could desecrate him. Others whisper he fled into the woods, crown slipping from his brow, roots claiming him as their own. And a few, just a few, say he did not die at all, but sleeps still, waiting, his crown cradled in roots like an heirloom not yet ready to be worn. The forest is patient. It has no need for haste. It remembers more than men, forgets less than stone. And so the crown rests, wrapped in soil, pressed by centuries, pulsing faintly in the dark. Crows gather. Always the crows. Black as night, their feathers gleam like wet ink. They perch on broken beams, on hollow stumps, on corpses long since stripped to bone. Their eyes glitter with knowing. They are messengers, or perhaps keepers. Some believe they serve the king still, waiting to herald his return. Others see them as scavengers, guardians of nothing but the dead. The smoke rises thicker. Your eyes sting. The scent of war lingers, though the battle ended years, perhaps centuries ago. The earth does not forget. It keeps the ash, keeps the echo of screams, keeps the silence that followed. You walk deeper. The ground softens. Roots knot beneath your feet, slick with damp, strong as stone. One rises higher than the rest, splitting the soil, and there, you glimpse it. A curve of metal, dulled but unmistakable. A crown, half swallowed by the earth. It is not grand. No jewels sparkle, no gold shines. It is simple, heavy, forged not for display, but for burden. The weight of rule, the weight of oath, the weight of fate. And the roots clutch it as if unwilling to let go. The stories warn of this. If the crown is unearthed, if it touches human hands, the king will rise, not as he was, but as the forest made him. Neither man nor ghost, but something in between. Some say he will return to reclaim his throne. Others fear he will rise only to curse the land, his fury boundless, his loyalty gone. You linger, listening. The silence hums. The crown does not move, yet the earth around it seems restless. Every root twitches faintly, every leaf leans closer. The forest waits. Not for you, perhaps, but for someone. Villages tell tales of nights when the crown glows faintly, pulsing like an ember. Of footsteps echoing between the trees, heavy as marching soldiers. Of a figure glimpsed in the mist, tall, cloaked, face hidden, crown gleaming faintly on his brow. And when they kneel, the vision fades. But the soil grows richer the next season, the fields yield more wheat, the flocks grow fat. Payment, or warning, no one knows. War has ended above, yet beneath it lingers. The king waits, or perhaps only the crown waits, drinking what the roots feed it. Blood, soil, time. What would his return mean? Would he rebuild or burn? Would the forest release him as savior or unleash him as curse? The crows know. Their wings beat in answer, but their cries reveal nothing. You kneel, staring at the crown. The roots shift faintly, as though sensing your breath. A hum fills the clearing, low, steady, not heard, but felt in bone. The crown does not rise, yet neither does it rest. It waits in the space between, and you understand. The king will return. But not now. Not yet. The soil is not ready, the roots not finished. The forest still whispers, still dreams. It has patience, more than you. More than kingdoms. The crows scatter suddenly, black shapes vanishing into smoke. The forest exhales, the crown sinks deeper, vanishing into root and earth, as though swallowing itself. The hum quiets, the silence deepens, and the promise remains. Not gone, not broken, only sleeping. One day, the roots will loosen. One day, the crown will rise. One day, the king will return. But not yet. The crows return to their circle, patient as ever. The smoke thins, though the scent of ash lingers still. Beneath your feet, the earth holds what it has taken. And deep below, the crown waits, pulsing faintly like a buried heart. The forest endures, the promise lingers, the story drifts onward, unfinished.